This is Gurmul Amitawala, and today I'm going to be reviewing a specific classroom technology resource, Scannable technology and how it supports and helps English language learners or ELLs. So to kick things off, right, I based this entire review on an article by Monica Burns from Edutopia titled "Support English Language Learners with Scannable Technology." I specifically chose this topic because I think we often overcomplicate technology, and this is a very simple way to use tech in our day-to-day educational lives. And what I love most about this approach is that it really offers a very practical way to differentiate instructions for every student without making like individual student feel singled out. It also helps bridge the massive language gap that many teachers have with English language learners. And the best part about it is that it uses devices that many students or the school already have. It uses stuff like smartphones and tablets, right? Because we're mainly talking about QR codes and augmented reality codes here, which are accessible with our phones and tablets anyway. So let's look at the actual strategy, the core idea behind scannable technology. So now imagine walking into a classroom and seeing an interactive word wall instead of a paper sign that says chair. Like instead of just having a board with words on it, imagine it's a board with hidden QR codes in it that an English language learner student can scan the code and instantly hear the pronunciation and then see the definition of that word in their own home language and see the word itself. And like you can just imagine how much more interactive and better it would be. And what this provides, according to Burns, is called instant support. It's instant. The student gets the help right when they need it on their device without having to like raise their hand or single themselves out by asking what does this word mean every 5 minutes. They just instantly get it from their mobile devices. So how does this actually work in practice? It's really about just-in-time support, right? So you can stick these codes onto worksheets or homework examples, right? For example, if a student goes home and their parents don't have like the best English quality level, a QR code on the homework can play the audio instructions in that family's native language so the parents can help them with homework. This creates that huge shift towards independence. The student isn't waiting for their teacher anymore. They're taking ownership of their own learning. Of course, right? And what this does, it provides that discrete help. It reduces anxiety and promotes independence and autonomy within the students. But of course, there's also the flip side that you need a reliable device that has access to internet, which that con we'll talk about in a bit. Now, let's ground this in an actual learning theory. This connects directly to social constructivism in Vygotsky's work. If you remember the zone of proximal development, that sweet spot where a student can do something with help, for example, technology acts as the scaffolding, it acts as the help. It provides that timely assistant to bridge that gap between what the student knows and what they need to learn, right? It that ZP like it this technology is the scaffold in the ZPD in this instance. It also builds a bridge between school content and their home resources so their parents can also help them. And now I want to focus for a second on who we're trying to help. ELLs are trying to master very complex academic content for their age while also simultaneously trying to learn the language that they're mastering the content in. And this brain load is massive. They're translating and processing it at the same time. This can lead to a lot of things, right? This can lead to social isolation or even feeling othered in a class where everyone else speaks English except them. And without support, grade level texts also become inaccessible to them, right? Because they don't know English. This is why this tech is so empowering. First, there's the student autonomy part of it, where they can privately get help, which lowers their social anxiety, right? Because not everyone needs to know that they need help, right? So they can help get it privately, which also like, secondly, it provides multi-module input. They aren't just reading anymore; they're also seeing and they're hearing, which leverages dual coding, which helps with their memory and helps them retain their knowledge better. And finally, it also brings in the home connection, right? It keeps in non-English parents who don't know English to like the best ability in the loop, and which becomes a game changer because then the parents can also help their children as well as the teachers with their students, right? Now, of course, just like any technique, this is not perfect. We have to be real about the digital divide. If kids, right, not every kid has access to immense technology at home, which then via this way creates an equity gap, right? And there's also the issue of reliability. We've all dealt with uncharged iPads, bad Wi-Fi, apps crashing, Cloudflare crashed a couple weeks ago. And naturally, there's also that distraction factor. If they're on a device, there's always that risk of them opening up a game instead of them doing the assignment, right? So now, what are some strategies that can be implemented to overcome these barriers? How do we fix this? To handle the access issue, what school, like the equity issue, the digital divide issue, is that schools really need a one-to-one device program or a solid checkout system where students can just check out anything they need. Like if they need a tablet for their homework, they can just check it out. But it needs to be solid so the school also doesn't, lose tablets like that. And a one-to-one device program would work even better because then what that means is each student has the exact same device. And for that Wi-Fi issue and just faulty internet, what you can do is you can make sure these apps work offline, right? Because if they work offline, you don't necessarily need internet. And at the end of the day, for distractions, the best way to go forward with it is good classroom management. You need to have clear routines, right? You need to have tech down signals so students know when to put their screens away. You need to have stuff like that. And now, before I wrap up, I just want to leave you with a couple questions to consider. The first one, I'm just asking you to evaluate how well do you think something like a interactive word wall supports English immersion for ELLs. Secondly, I'm trying to ask you to analyze how, like, do you think scanning a QR code rather than asking a question every 5 minutes would make an ELL student feel more included, or would it single them out even more? And third, I want to ask you to create. I want you to make a strategy where an ELL can use QR codes and augmented reality to teach their culture and their language to their peers, their teachers, other classmates. In conclusion, scannable technology is about transforming static papers that we have to something more dynamic. It moves us beyond just accommodating ELL students to help them learn English to actively empowering them and letting them really ha- harness their independency in learning. It really just gives them the independence they need to learn on their own terms, which is what, at the end of the day, education should really be about. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a good day.